Last summer, a group known as Grannies Respond, Abuelas Responden, they put out a call on social media for others to join them in a six-city, 2,000-mile trip to McAllen, Texas, home of the largest U.S. detention center for undocumented immigrants, where they planned a protest of the U.S. government's zero-tolerance policy separating children from their parents at the United States-Mexico border. Sharon Kutz-Mellem is a member of Grannies Respond and was a correspondent for Bradshaw Live, giving us updates every day on the Grannies' progress and experiences as they made their way to Texas. Today, Sharon joins me to give an update on what these amazing Grannies have been up to since the caravan. Welcome back, Sharon. And I want you to know that your segments, the Grannies Respond, was one of the most well-received segments that we've done on our show in the year and a half that we've been on and doing this. So congratulations. What you guys did down there was uplifting to many, many people and encouraging as well. So remind us a little bit about what Grannies Respond did and how the group formed.
Well, it was sort of, we saw people being separated from their children at the border, and we were horrified. And within 5 weeks, we organized grannies and grandpies and other compassionate people across the country. We had 142 vehicles. We stopped at detention centers, and when we got to McAllen, Texas, we did 24 hours of action and community service. What we learned was it was worse than we thought. And as we rounded up our trip, we asked our partners, Angry Tias and Abuelas, to tell us what they wanted us to do when we got back. And what that was to meet asylees as they traveled through the bus stations.
Now, you were an embedded correspondent. You were giving us updates every day from the Granny Caravan. Can you give me quickly the cities that you went through and what you did quickly in each city? And tell me what was the most memorable thing, other than obviously being on Bradshaw Live. What was the most memorable experience that you had?
We went through Mobile, New Orleans, which was really fun because we had a funeral march to say adios to racism and the cruelty at the border. We went to Houston. We went to Dilley Detention Center.
That's right. And they didn't let you in. I remember that.
And they didn't let us in. And then we got to McAllen. And in Mobile, it was pretty moving, too, because we went to the museum. It's a focus on slavery, and I don't remember the name of it, but there were just this huge metal sculpture of hanging pieces of metal that represented every single Black person that had been hung in our history. And it was very overpowering with tears for all of us, because we really felt a kinship as we were heading to the border, because we feel like we're on the cusp of something historically similar.
You started helping immigrants at bus stops. Tell me what you know after somebody, an asylum seeker, comes in. I assume they don't have any money in their pocket. They have the clothes on their back. They pass a credible fear interview. The United States opens the door and says, okay, go in. What happens?
They dump them at bus stations. There's no pattern of how these folks are being released from detention. None whatsoever. In El Paso, they got 4,300 just dumped on them a couple of months ago. They just opened the doors and let everybody out. They can't get out of detention unless they have the name of someone, their sponsor or a family member or a church or something that's going to be able to supply them with an address so court can keep track of them.
So they get a bus ticket, not from ICE, not from the government, but from some from some person in America. ICE drops them off at a bus station, presuming that they could read a bus sign. They may not even speak English. How do they get around? What do? Are they walking in circles? Do they even know what bus to get on?
That's why we have the Grannies, and we're part of a very loose coalition. There's a group in Brownsville that isn't Grannies. There are groups in bus stations all over this country doing what we do. And we have sort of a network in which we call each other. Our particular routes in Louisville, a lot of the people end up in New York, New Jersey, and Maine. So they are dependent on the kindness of the people in the bus stations to help them figure out their schedules. We travel with things like laminated maps. Not all of us speak Spanish. We use Google Translate to help, and we usually start by showing them this is where you are. And some of the bus drivers are very kind. The bus station masters are very kind. But this is a person-to-person endeavor of humanitarian kindness.
What you're calling this in totality, I understand, is the Overground Railroad.
Correct.
And what you're saying is from the time they get released, they get a bus ticket. They have
Correct.
to switch buses 5 times just to make it to Louisville, Kentucky, which is only
Correct.
halfway to where they want to go, New York, New Jersey, Maine, if they're coming up to the Northeast.
Right.
How do you know how many asylum seekers are on this bus? Where are you stationed?
It's downtown Louisville, and we have sort of a phone tree thing that happens on a WhatsApp. We get heads up if people are coming without shoes. For example, we had a pregnant woman who they thought was about ready to deliver, and they called us, and they called Nashville and said, heads up, you might be calling an ambulance or delivering a baby.
How do you know
Yes.
to get people off the bus that they're getting in the right place? I mean, the bus shows up, they say, okay, Louisville, Kentucky, everybody off who's going to Louisville, Kentucky. You know, do you walk on the bus and say, asylum seekers, follow me? I mean, how do maybe somebody knows, maybe they don't realize to get off the bus.
In theory, we have this sign. Can you see it?
No, go this way. Yeah, now I see it. Ah, I see. Right, families who need help.
Yeah,
Right.
and I have my own little shtick that I do. I say, "Hoy soy tu abuela." Today I am your grandmother. And sometimes the bus driver invites us on because they require all of them to get off, and sometimes the bus drivers don't speak Spanish.
Right. Tell me the process of what happens after you find an asylum seeker. They're on the bus. They've got nothing. They get off the bus. What are you doing for them?
Well, we sort of know who they are because they come with a brown envelope, and that's their papers, their documentation. We have a group of grannies and grampies who are at a table or off to the side, and they're waving as I motion them forward. And with their tickets are sometimes 12 pages, that open and open and open. And you explain to them, okay, this is where you're going to make a transfer, and we show them on the map.
Right.
And we have to work really quickly because a lot of times the buses are late and they only have 10 or 15 minutes.
Do you do this every day?
We do it twice a day, 7 days a week. And I do the morning buses, not all of them. We went with 4 volunteers a couple of weeks after we got back, myself, 3 other people that went to the border with us, and we now have 130 volunteers. But it would be less complicated if we were allowed to help people navigate their way and give them a little food. But that's not the way it is. And in Louisville, we had one really hateful person, and we had to develop a policy: do not engage, get your people back on the bus, send somebody over to the station manager and report that you're being harassed, and then vacate the bus station. So that's our action plan if we have a vile Trumpy who's screaming, why are you helping these illegals and not us? And, so on and so forth. So
Now, have you seen
Yes,
a change in how the government is treating them at the border? Different, and I'm sure it changes with every administration, but do you see noticeable changes?
don't get me started.
I had to ask the question, I know.
I have never seen such inhumane treatment in my life of human beings, of our brothers and sisters, of, oh, by the way, whose land we stole.
Can you give me an example or 1 or 2 examples of some of the inhumane treatment that you have witnessed or that you have heard firsthand from an asylum?
Sometimes we hear that we are the first smiling face in America that they have seen. This will make me sit in the car and cry every single time.
They made it to Louisville and never saw a smiling person.
I know.
Right.
And then we hear about the cold. They're always so very, very cold. They talk about their experiences of being thrown into the icebox. Ankle bracelets. We had to look for a while. Somebody was putting on ankle bracelets so tight that we thought we were going to have to send people to the emergency room.
God.
That stopped.
Right.
But we were documenting it, taking pictures of it, and we have this wonderful nun in El Paso who knows people in ICE.
Right.
She manages to, get some stuff changed. So, that's what we do.
If somebody wanted to donate, what is your GoFundMe if somebody wanted to donate to help you and your organization?
If you go to granniesrespond.org, that's a brand new thing that just happened last week. There's a drop-down menu, and they can designate for which city. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Well, Sharon Kutz-Mellem, you're doing a fantastic job. We love having you on the show. We hope you come back soon. Congratulations on just helping people.
It's good to be a helper.
Thank you very much for joining us and filling us in on how the Grannies are doing. Appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks for watching. For more Bradshaw Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.